positive vibrations. This is Body Culinary, and I just came from taking a nice little evening stroll, or evening walk. It's so beautiful to look up. Sometimes we're looking down, but it's good to look up sometimes so you can catch the sunrise and the sunset. So the sunset is really beautiful this evening. And I was just thinking, I love the quiet hours. I was thinking about the cost of eating healthy. So I just got a local plantain. Sometimes I'm growing some, but I would definitely supplement what I have in my little teeny tiny garden with what I find from the local farmers at the market. And so this is a healthy local plantain, and the cost has definitely gone up. The cost of food has definitely gone up. I'm someone that has always paid attention to food costs, especially as many years ago, joining a food co-op. Shout out to the Park Slope Food Co-op. I started shopping by the pound. So over the years, for decades, I would buy less and less inside packages. So what I noticed was that my bags, my food bags got really, really heavy, right? My recycled food bags, they got heavier and heavier, and I started having more and more bags that I would have to put on the handlebars of my bicycle because I would ride to and from the food co-op. So my bags got heavier and heavier, though I noticed the price went down. So I love principles because principles to me are the shortcut. So I figured out years ago, each year I would eat a dramatically increasing amount of whole, fresh, unprocessed fruits and vegetables. It sounds so simple, but it's the nuances, it's the details that make a difference. So in the case of this plantain, I remember when I could get three for $1, right? And now one is 75 cents. That's a big difference. But I would say it's still, the weight of it, the weight of my food bag, I'm still going to get a lot more bang for my buck with a whole food than buying chips. Now, if we're really honest, and as somebody that was a former junk food junkie, many of us, and you let me know what you think in the comments, I think that many of our palates are not used to eating whole, fresh food anymore. So even certain greens and herbs that may be around in our yard, or perhaps we could find locally, or even at the farmer's market, sometimes those things will be less per pound, less in cost. They'll be fresher and seasonal. But I think, quite honestly, many of us, we don't have a palate for fresh food anymore. So I think that's one of the reasons why we're like, there's nothing to eat. So I like to say the food is talking to you, and that you'll retrain your eyes, just like you can retrain your eyes to really enjoy as an option your original hair and skin, which I think leads to a more beautiful or a kind of calmer, peaceful life. Just radical self acceptance, enjoying what you have, and really capitalizing, being creative and expressive with your own body parts, but also learning how to be really creative with the whole fresh ingredient. So there's a living water. I like to make the distinction. There's living water inside the food. And with a lot of what I see on social media, although I can be very creative with the food, by the time we're done processing the food, a lot of the integrity of the nutrition has been compromised. So I'm very, very conscientious of the living water in the food, but I know that has been a process over the years of becoming really, really creative with the food. And so by the time we're done drying the food, powdering it, frying it, it tastes fantastic. Like it's a party in your mouth. But after the sensory flavor sensation, quite often we're not satiated. So we need to go back for more and more and more food. So it was three, maybe sometimes even four for $1. And now one is 75 cents. But I would still say the weight of this is a nice, hefty size local plantain. But this is still so much more filling than a bag of chips, right? This has so much more weight on it than a bag of sweet potato chips, and a lot of times we're looking for the latest craze of a kettle uh, baked instead of fried, or something that we've done creatively with the food, but we've depleted it quite often. And so a lot of the nutrition is not there, so it's not so satisfying. And so greens, there are different types of greens. And I did treat myself to a pear, an anjou pear, which I'm gonna do enjoy this. So this is not a Bartlett. Yeah, this is a treat for me. This would be dessert, right? If somebody used to like a lot of junk food, that would be dessert for me. So this is a good amount of greens. I will recycle the plastic, but this is a good amount of greens. And there are other types of greens other than kale and broccoli. This is a good amount of greens. And I have these growing in my yard, but I will buy them, right? Because if you're growing in your yard, not everything is going to be ready at the same time. So this is, anybody recognize this green? This is a good amount of greens. And again, it's a lot of seeds on it. And I will see, I have two varieties of this in my little kitchen garden, right? It gives me plenty of seeds. Now, if you notice, if you're ordering seeds for your garden, um, a lot of seeds are kind of disappearing, or they're producing produce that don't have any kind of seeds, which that's kind of red flag. I expect to have seeds. Like I have like seeds or eggs naturally in my body. I think food is supposed to naturally have seeds. It just kind of makes sense to me. But this is a lot of, I think this is maybe a bit more than a pound of greens, right? Um, I can trim the stalks. I can juice this. For those folks, if you want to eat it cooked or lightly cooked or steamed, you can do that. If you want to prepare it living, you can do that. This is a lot, but many of us don't have a palate for greens. This is one of the things that we avoid the most. So there's plenty of food still, even with the prices. There's plenty of food to be had. This stuff actually has a good amount of weight on. I'm going to enjoy this pear. And so I have two bunches of greens, and I do have okra in my yard, but I got some also from a farmer. You see how that works? Right? And you want to support your farm. I always keep the names in my Rolodex in case of emergency, because if they're growing, they're not going to want to waste that. So I have a golden apple and I have an Anjou pear and I have a good amount of okra. That's still a good amount of food, y'all. That's a good amount of food. Look at all this food. That's real food. So when I'm talking about whole, fresh living and unprocessed foods, this is what I'm talking about, right? It's not powders. It's not pills. I think our eyes have gotten so conditioned. We think everything has to be in a little bottle, in a bargain bin in Walmart or CVS, but this is still real food. This is has fresh chlorophyll in expensive bottles of chlorophyll. Simple is elegant. Simple is satisfying. Simple is satiating. So perhaps it's for us to consider changing our eyes so that we can change our palate, right? Retraining our eyes and asking some questions. Is it real food that the body can recognize? Your body knows what to do when you give it what it's designed for. It knows how to regulate itself to a normal, healthy weight. It knows how to digest food. It knows how to use the cellulose to clean out the colon. It's all very natural. It could be so simple. We make it so hard. So you can still find a good amount of food, real food, but you got to prepare it, right? And we may think that a lot of the convenience, fast food, they're convenient, but this is actually fast food, right? I got over 2 pounds of greens here, right? This is super inexpensive, right? And it's a different variety. It's in the spinach family. This is callaloo, and there are different versions of it. I have two versions of it in my yard. I have some herbs in my yard. I like to say Mother Nature is going to give you something in any environment that you're in. Something good to eat. She's going to give you a treat, and she's going to give you something to clean you out. So it is still possible to eat very healthfully and very enjoyably. It doesn't have to be that expensive. So let me know what you think in the yard. What other varieties of greens have you found locally? I'm a food detective, so I can find something in any area. And I will talk to people, different cultures, different gardeners, different farmers, and that's how I get the 411 on what is going to be available. So inviting you to create a great rest of the evening on purpose, and hopefully I'll see you in the morning. Wake yourself up, set your alarm for the 5 a.m. workout. I will share the warm-up portion, which is a workout for your daily movement practice in and of itself. We're moving every single day this year. See you soon. Like, comment respectfully.